Good evening, everyone. Hi, thank you so much for coming. This is the first library event I think I've done in the town hall, and it's such an amazing venue. So thank you very much to the town hall for donating the space tonight. And thank you so much for coming. What a beautiful day. Had a lot better than last night. We're here to celebrate the arrival of Al Brown and his latest book, Get Fresh. And I'd just like to give my heartfelt thanks for coming down. It's really amazing to have you here. Often, authors don't always make it this far south, and it's fantastic to have a really good response. Just goes to show that we're really behind authors and New Zealand writers here. Mobile phones off, please. I'd also like to thank Brand of the House, and in particular Rebecca Simpson here, for giving us the opportunity to bring Al down. This is going to sound a bit like an Oscar speech, so I'm really sorry, it's quite long. To Marbex and Bruce Kelly for bringing the books here tonight. They are for sale and we have FPOS available. The book... Oh,
credit card but not FPOS.
Credit card but not FPOS. And the book is on special at the moment. It's $49.99.
Already. Only been out a week.
Fabulous discounted price. You also get, for that, there's a CD for every road trip you ever want to go on around New Zealand. There's a CD in the back. And we also have some of the other books that Al has written. So feel free to come up and browse and talk to the booksellers. And of course you can get the books personally signed, which is great. Perfect Christmas presents. So also I'd just like to say a big thanks to Jo and her team at Kerry's Bay Hotel. I'm sure you'll all agree that the food was delicious. Now they actually cooked up some of the products that Al uses and champions in his books. As you know, he's a fantastic champion of New Zealand produce. He's produced some of the most fantastic food. And it's great to have a cook who really cares about keeping true to what we produce and supporting local produce throughout the country. And just on that note, some of the local producers that have donated some beautiful food tonight are Leckie's Butchery with their black and white pudding. We also have Queen's Scallops and local clams from Southern Clams. And Harbour Fish have also contributed some beautiful fresh fish for us tonight. So thank you very much to them as well. And to Space, who have donated beer. I hope everyone's had a good chance to sample some beer and has one in their hand. And last but not least, I'd love to thank the Port Chalmers Library and its staff, and also support staff from the Dunedin Public Libraries Network. They've done a fantastic job of keeping up with demand. We actually had a huge waiting list of people wanting to come to this talk, so it's really cool that you guys got in early and got your seats. So thank you, and without further ado, we do not want to hear another word from me. Please welcome Al Brown.
Getting a little bit sweaty at the collar there. Thanks, Lynette. Can you all hear me? Yes. Can you hear me now? Is that better? Can you hear me at the back? Great. Oh, it's just a real pleasure to be here. We flew out of Auckland yesterday. We've been to Wanaka and Cromwell last night, and we went up to Oamaru today, and then doubled back and came back down to Dunedin. And I think I can't believe the turnout, and it just makes me feel so good. And it's I think it's kind of a symbiotic relationship because I simply love Dunedin, and I love the South Island, but I think Dunedin's just got a vibe like no other city in the country, and I certainly get around a lot of them, and I love them all actually, to be honest. But something about Dunedin when you get in, or you come, I love that sort of approach from either side, north or south. There's a real sense of arrival. There's a real heart. It reminds me of my hometown, Wellington, which is not going to be my hometown for much longer, but it just seems to have a great community spirit. So thank you very much for coming along tonight. I'm going to talk for as long as the words come out, and then I'll open it up to the floor, and if you have any questions about anything, by all means put up your hand, and I think that we'll have a microphone to if your voice doesn't carry. But I guess I am here to talk a little bit about Get Fresh and the latest offering. Of course, it was a show that we did last year, and it was a show that I wanted to do for a long time, because I felt that New Zealand is such a small country, but it's so diverse in its provinces, and the food scene, really, we've come from what I always say is sort of a culinary wasteland, and that's probably a bit strong to say that of 40 years ago, but what has happened in those last 40 years has been absolutely quite extraordinary, and now we're a country that really just can grow everything, and I don't think there would have been a country in the world that had that sort of growing curve or that understanding that suddenly, and I think that all comes back down to probably our love of travel, and suddenly the light went off when we were overseas, and when we understood that we could grow olive oil, or we could grow grape wine, and now we just have everything, and whether it's saffron or it's truffles or it's pine nuts from Marlborough, there's just extraordinary things to uncover and to sort of promote, and we should be extremely proud of where we are. So the show, the idea of the show was to travel and pick 10 provinces from the far north right through to the deep south, and look at each province, and I guess there's obvious things about provinces that you sort of know and you'd expect to celebrate. If you're in Marlborough, it would be green shell mussels and Sauvignon Blanc, and that'd be great. Obviously, that's a great match, and that's a great thing for that province to be proud of. But I think the show was more about really uncovering all the other little jewels there, and championing those small people that are coming through, all the artisan people that are coming through it. And the show itself had to start. We felt it had to start in the farmers' markets, and that would be my window on the province, and that would be the place to get a real feeling for what was out there at that time of year, and then and as a cook or a chef. We discussed this today. What are we, cooks or chefs? I'm not sure. I think a chef's in charge of a kitchen, but I'm a cook as well. So, but to actually, I didn't realise how stimulated I'd be by that sort of submerging myself in a province and really getting to feel what it's all about, and to come up with 3 dishes, the entree, main, and dessert, within sort of 4 days, and then sort of that is my, I guess. If I lived in that province, that's what I'd be serving. That's the style of food I'd be serving at that time of year, using those products. So simply found it an incredible thing for a chef to do, and there was so much more. When we make TV, and it is a real honour to make TV. I simply adore travelling the country and meeting people and getting to show it off and getting to go to some incredible places and meet some incredible New Zealanders. But when we make that show, it ends up, it's 21 minutes of telly, and we take I guess it takes about 4 or 5 days to shoot, and we probably do about 8 hours of footage in that time, and then they shrink it down to 21 minutes, and they make you look good, and they do an incredible job. And it's funny because as a presenter, everyone thinks that you're the show and you do everything, and yet it's actually a very small part of it. And they, as I say, there's a lot of people behind it, and anyway, so I guess the sad thing about when you only have 21 minutes of TV to tell a story, and you've met so many wonderful people, is that I felt that we had to write a book as well, and so that was the idea, and because there were so many stories that weren't told, and I wanted to sort of, I guess, get into it a bit more, and to really show exactly what happened, and to really get in behind those amazing producers. And I mean, writing for me, it's not something that actually comes very easily. I find it a challenge, and I do love a challenge. I know what I want to say in my head, but it always takes me quite a bit of time to get it right, and I rewrite, and eventually it comes. But so and I guess when I think of books, I just can't do just recipe books. I find the recipe books, they all look the same and they're all beautifully shot. They're lovely things, and I've got hundreds or thousands of them. But for me, I have to, if I'm going to put recipes in there, I want to tell stories, and I want it to be a book, especially in a country this size. It needs to be something that you don't have to be a foodie, you don't have to be into cooking to pick up one of my books. I hope that there's a chance to read a great story or a great yarn and enjoy that, or enjoy the photography or everything else that we put into it. I love the design of books. I write every word. It's always it's bringing together of a whole lot of people, and the thing that I do and my success has been all about that. I'm big on people, and whether it's a restaurant in Auckland or it's the book, it's always in a collaboration of bringing people together, and I've always worked with the same photographer, a guy called Kieran Scott, who's bloody awesome. And we shoot everything natural. We don't ever have lights, and when we shoot the food, we shoot it how we eat it. We don't play around with it. I'm big on everything being natural. I'm not big on garnish. I'm big on just, I guess, putting food out there that we'd be eating and leaving it to its devices, and that's how it should be. It should be natural beauty. I have a great designer called Gary Stewart that does all my design of the books and all the collateral that comes with all the other things I do. And so, again, everything that I do is about bringing some really great and talented people around surround myself with them, and usually good things happen. And the longer I stay in the game and what I'm doing, the more I guess I want to do, and the only reason I think I can do that is again by bringing some really good people around with me. So, I mean, that's the book. Also, there was some mention of some music in there. The music, when I was writing the chapters, and each chapter is on each province that's in there, I started, because everything has a vibe, everything has a feel, and we're incredibly, I guess, parochial about where we live, and we're very proud of it. And I guess, I'm talking about food and giving you recipes and stories, and we were trying to think of it, and then I said, geez, wouldn't it be great if we could put music with it as well? And again, especially this region, it has such a great, I think music's a big part of everyone's life. So we pulled in actually not half an hour ago to take a photo of the railway station, and there was a girl out there just in a short sleeve shirt and a really little summer dress playing the pipes. The wind was blowing, it was freezing, and she was it was amazing, and I've always sort of thought Dunedin's always had this incredible music scene and underground scene, and so the more I thought of the provinces, the more I sort of felt, well, look, how can we give that writing even a bit more, or try and get that vibe of the town or the city or the province into the book. And so I thought, oh well, look, I'll give it a try, and I rang a few people and made some contacts, and I was eventually put onto a guy called Mike Chung, who is he's ex. Most of you at this stage probably remember some of things. Yeah. And he was great. He just said, "Shit, Al, that sounds amazing." So we met the next day, and he has a business called Play It Strange, and it's all about nurturing young musicians and bands right from high school and through. And it became a really awesome experience. He just kept sending music. How about this? How about this? And I didn't have time to go, okay, well, we need to have a Dunedin band, or we need to have a band from the far north or from Riverton or wherever. It just it felt that they were the sound of the music was the right fit for the province. And so we've got a great CD with that, and I guess the idea is you put the CD on, you park up on the couch, make yourself a cup of tea, listen to the music, have a read, and read the recipes, and hopefully think of something good to cook for dinner that night. it also felt, I think a lot of what I write about is about my memories or my stories or growing up, and it felt like what we were doing with the show was a road trip, and road trips, and remember those things called cassettes, and the way we would make our cassette for the summer and have our greatest hits on that. So it's a little bit like that, and it's a really eclectic mix of music, which I just think is amazing, and I guess that's it's all those incredibly talented people in New Zealand that you just want to bring them on the ride and get I think we're brilliant at so many things, and there's so many clever people out there that that just go under the radar. So I think we've printed 15,000 Get Fresh, and if it goes well, we'll sell those, and then there's an opportunity for 15,000 people to listen to young musicians that are never, that often, go unheard. So that was, that's part of the book, and Go Fish was a little bit like that. There's always something on the inside cover. There's always a little bit of design happening with the book, and there's a feel, and there's a real, I guess, each one has a personality or a character of its own. Food to me these days is all about people and place, and the longer I cook, the longer I'm in the kitchen or out of the kitchen, as it is more these days, I think it's really, food is just a vehicle for bringing people together, and it's crazy because I'm insanely busy promoting slowing down, and which doesn't seem to make much sense, but that idea of I just think the importance of sitting around and enjoying a great meal and bringing people together is why I cook more than anything. When I started, I did a restaurant called Logan Brown in Wellington, and it was fine dining. I learned how to cook when I travelled, and I did a culinary arts degree in North America. And as typical New Zealanders, I came back and I wanted to take on the world, and I wanted to be as good as all the other great chefs in the world. And we did, a fine dining restaurant and white tablecloth, and it went really, really well, and it still goes well. I've been a silent partner for the last 4 years, but and nearly, I'll tell you in a minute what's happening there. But I guess it was that I wanted to take on the world. And so, like New Zealanders, we have that. I think we're a small population at the bottom of the earth, and we always feel like we're the underdogs, and we want to take everyone on, and we're like a dog with a bone, and we did a great job there. But it was funny, after a while, sort of 10 years into it, and I am someone that loves chapters. I get bored. I like to do other things, but it was funny. I never, as much as I like doing the fine dining side of things, I never really truly felt comfortable, because I don't think as New Zealanders that we're actually not very good at formality, and as soon as we put a white tablecloth down, or everything becomes a little bit more precious and everything's perfect, and good evening. So I think we always find it a little bit uncomfortable, and yet that back then, 15, 16 years ago, that's what we thought we had to be. And I think now, even just in 15 years' time, I think that we've gone to a place where we're really a lot more comfortable in who we are, and our skin, and what our hospitality is, and that we don't have to copy or be anyone else. It's a tough one to sort of think, what is our cuisine, but it's sort of everything. But we're becoming, I guess cuisine to me is more about being generous. It's about a connection to the land and to the sea, and for me, more than anything, I do what I do because I want to wave the New Zealand flag, and I want New Zealanders to, and you're all here because you love food and you love New Zealand, and I just think it's really important that we keep that stimulation going, and we don't ever get apathetic about where we live or what's on offer, and that importance of caring about it and looking after it is so important to me, and the food itself. So now, you may have heard of I've opened a restaurant called Depot in Auckland. Anyone? One or two? Great, thank you. And that's completely opposite end of the scale to Logan Brown, and it's sort of fun and furious, and elbows on the table are encouraged, as opposed to having to be all straight and narrow. And the thing, I guess when I think about food, and I didn't think I was going to open another restaurant, but I was approached, and I guess the more I thought about it was what makes us feel the most comfortable when we eat and drink, and to me, I just couldn't get it out of my head that I'm always at my best at the batch. Not that I have a batch, at your batch, or someone else's batch, but, or a crib, I guess you call it cribs down there as well, which I think is a great name too. But that, I sort of think that's where we, and that's sort of talking about where we are with food and these days and eating, and that idea that everyone, there's only one chair that's not slightly wonky, all the cutlery is different, and the drawers don't really pull out, and there's only one decent pillow in the bunk room, and there's a squeaky board on the deck, and there's all that sort of thing, and yet when we get there, that's where we seem to be able to just have so much fun. And I talk about sort of people and place, and that food, when you connect with, if you think of all the great things or the great food memories that you have, I guarantee it'll either be who you're with or where you were, and somehow that goes into the food somehow and makes that magic food, or just tastes so much better. And if you have both, well then there'll be an eating memory that you'll never ever forget. And it always, I tell the story of an example of that was we used to, we camp. We do a lot of camping. That's our holiday thing that we do in the summer, and we have sort of 3 or 4 families that we always go camping with, and we have since the kids were really small, and so there's sort of 13 or 14 kids racing around, and all of us with frayed nerves. But we were camping up in a place called Ahipara, which is at the top of the North Island, just at the end of 90 Mile Beach, out of Kaitaia, and it had been sort of raining and drizzling for about 3 days. We're on day 8 of 2 weeks. And everyone was getting a little bit fidgety. The awning was wet, everyone was a bit damp. It wasn't cold because it was the far north, it was warm, but it was just, everything was damp, the grass was damp. And I got up and as I often do, I'm very good early in the morning. I always get up early, and especially on holiday, I love to get out there as the sun rises. And I went and caught some lovely sort of medium-sized carway off the point, and brought them back, and we decided that evening, I cleaned them up and kept them in the shade, and I decided that we'd do fish and chips for the kids, and we'd do fresh carway fish and chips. And so cut up, we had potatoes left, and had the fish and some flour and eggs and bits and pieces, and made a batter, and had just a little burner and a sort of decent sized pot, and we filled that up with canola oil. We had newspaper, and I sat there for 2 hours, and wrapping them for the kids, etc. And we sat there eating fresh carway fish and chips and drinking warm Sauvignon Blanc, and it still gives me tingles to even talk about it. And yet, if you had warm Sauvignon Blanc and carway fish and chips, if you came to my house and I served you that, you'd think I'd lost my freaking mind. And yet, that's an example of that whole sort of, people and place and where you are, and that somehow that makes the food taste better. And there's examples that I think food is it's all about, or certainly our food is all about generosity. It's all about giving. It's all about sharing. We don't need to do too much with the product, and we just let it speak for itself. And I remember I was approached to do the VIP catering for the World Cup, 2 or 3, probably 3 years ago now, and I remember so the same sort of company that organises the catering under the IRB? Yeah. Sounds like one of those things you go rescue people in. Anyway, they go from World Cup to World Cup, and they were showing me video footage of the French from the previous World Cup, and it was all about the chef, and this big high hat, and all the photos of him looking incredible, And I remember going straight away, well, it ain't going to be about the chef, it's going to be about the producers, and it's going to be, that will be how we tell our story through food. And I remember them showing me a plate of, and this was one of the scallop dishes that they served, and there was like a smear, and there was 3 scallops on it, and there was some, a dusting of microherbs that looked like nature's pubic hair, drizzled over the top, and a couple of drops of oil and some sort of crisp sail thing, that looked amazing, but it was 3 scallops, and I said to them, well, if we did scallops, or I did scallops, just be a plate of scallops. And there'd be 12 scallops, and there'd be a squeeze of lemon juice, and they'd be cooked in butter with salt and pepper. And that's, I'm pretty sure we'd all agree that we know which one we'd prefer to eat. And so that, I guess, that's what I am, that's what I sort of how I feel about food these days. It's about giving, it's about understanding the product and being very, very generous with it. I guess, we're in a position now, and I have to say that, and I think I've written it in the book, so I'm not just saying it because I'm in Dunedin, but the Dunedin Farmers Market is quite extraordinary, and you all know that. I think I even said that it should be the template for farmers markets around the country, and you guys started the movement probably before most people, and I think I look at farmers markets and they are such wonderful places, as you know, and they can be, like Riverton's Farmers Market is 2 trestle tables, in the main street, but it's still a wonderful place as well. But the Dunedin Farmers Market, and the success of the Farmers Market can only be its community that backs it. And so that's, and I've been to your Farmers Market 3 times, and I have to say, it's been bloody cold and wet every time. But the place is still packed with people. It doesn't make all that sings to me is loyalty, and that you've made it part of your life, and that it's a routine, and that's where you shop, and that's where you connect with those people. And again, talk about people and place. It's about that. That sausage tastes great because you know the guy that sells it to you, and they play, and you have, and that's another reason I love this area in the city so much, is that there's this lovely feeling of, I guess, tolerance, because there's all those bloody crazy scarfies racing around, driving up the wall probably. But there's a real lovely mix of people, and you go to that farmers market and you're watching, there's just that mix of incredible people getting on and buying and eating wonderful food, and it's a safe place, it's a community place, it's a place to bond, it's a place to laugh and have fun and to catch up with people, and so they're more than just places to buy food. They're a place that really, for a lot of people, it's a big part of their week, and they just make you feel so good when you're there. And I just take my hat off to you guys, because I think that the reason these places work and what other people can learn is that these artisan producers can only turn up there each week and have a business if the community gets behind them, and so that's why it keeps flourishing, and that's why the diversity of the product that you have there right around the year is quite extraordinary. I guess that's all sort of about the show. Talk about food, so to tell you a little bit about Depot, the new restaurant in Auckland, and it goes absolutely gangbusters. It's the most incredible hospitality business I've ever been involved in, and it's crazy busy. We don't take any reservations. That drives everyone up the wall, certainly, because it works so well as a business model. And it's funny because the spin that I put on that is that because you have to wait outside. You have to wait outside to come in, and quite often the wait can be up to an hour, sometimes more. But we had just this last Saturday night, we had 207 people wait to get in in the evening, and it's full at 5:30, and it's full till we're still bringing people in at 11:30. But if you think about it, if I turn up to your place for a dinner party, you don't walk through the door and sit down and go, let's eat. We stand around and have a drink for an hour, and as long as you communicate what's going on. You can have oysters out there, etc. And the other thing is, so I don't think it's that extraordinary. And the other thing is we should probably celebrate waiting. You know, when you're waiting, you're doing nothing, and our lives are so incredibly busy these days. So to actually be standing somewhere, watching the world go by with loved ones or friends, having a drink, waiting to sit down, is not a bad thing at all. And some people get it, some people don't get it. And you know, when we opened, I felt a bit intimidated going up to Auckland, and because I don't do too cool for school, I can't stand attitude. And we just said, oh, well, I'll keep my head down. And sure enough, you know, the too cool for school turned up in the first few weeks, you know, sort of strutting their stuff, going, don't you know who I am? And we were like, no, but it's a 40-minute wait. If you give me your name, you're on the list, you know. And they all left in a huff, like you wouldn't believe, like it was pretty predictable. Never to be seen again. And now we just have these incredible, you know, we just have wonderful people that come, and it's sort of, again, it's about that people thing. It's about, you know, you reap what you sow, and we just don't do too cool for school. We don't do attitude or anything like that. And it was funny, a couple of weeks ago, I normally wait on tables when I'm up there at night, and I enjoy that immensely. And the other night there was a guy, and so when your table is ready, you don't wait again. It happens very quickly, so you're not like waiting outside and then coming in and waiting again. It's very, very fast, the style of food that we do in the service. And this guy goes, I said, and what we normally say, well, certainly what I say is, oh, thank you very much for waiting, and now we'll wait on you for the evening. And the guy goes, you know, he had a little bit of a slur in his voice, and he goes, now, mate, we come every second week, and the waiting's part of the fun. He said, we just don't look at our watches anymore, we count the giraffes, and tonight was a 5-giraffe wait. A-class. And that's sort of, I guess that's what, and I think back to, you know, we used to have a place called the Mexican Cantina in Wellington. I don't know if any of you remember that place, but we used to sit on the stairs and drink a riot pack of wine with our mates, and we didn't think a bar of it either. And so that whole informality, and as I say, we have people waiting all the time. And depot's open from 7 a.m. till 1 a.m. every day, 7 days a week. It's an oyster bar, so we shuck oysters. We'll have 3 or 4 different types of oysters on ice, and clams. We shuck, you know, and the beautiful little necks that you've tried tonight. And then we cook everything over charcoal or in a wood-fired oven. So again, it's that sort of batch feeling, or, you know, collecting seafood and eating it raw, or cooking it up in a bit of broth. And we sort of we champion all the special needs vegetables and all the secondary cuts. That's the big thing for me, is this whole, we need to get away from just eating pearly white fillets of, dare I say, blue cod. I know you love your blue cod down here, and it is a great fish, but everything that I do now, cooking-wise, is I want people to experience other things, or the secondary style, or you know, encourage them to, you know, the only fish that we serve or as a main course is a groper or kingfish belly, and it's just the belly of the fish, and it's roasted in the oven, and the meats that we cook, we don't do any fillet steak or chicken breast or anything like that. We do skirt steak, and we do brisket, and you know, we do a lovely little dish that we've had on for, well, we only had it on for about a month and a half. It came from when we were filming Get Fresh, and we're in Canterbury, and there's an outfit there called Canterbury Ducks, and we've always bought duck legs and duck breasts from those guys for years and years and years, or whole ducks. And I said to the guy, you know, and we use their smoke product, etc. I said, is there anything that I've missed? And he said, no, that's about it. And then he went, oh, no, hold on. I said, there's a couple of Chinese restaurants that take the tongues, and the tongues are about this big. As you know, a duck's tongue is pretty small. And they produce, I don't know how many whole ducks a week, and they get, from their normal production, they'll get 5 kilo of duck tongues. and I said, look, I'll be into some of those, send me some of those. And we cooked them like in confit style, we cooked them in a little bit of duck fat, and they were magnificent. They've got a little cartilage in the centre, and you just pull that out, it's like a toothpick. So they're quite a lot of work. And then we just we sort of bread them and deep fry them and serve them in a little cone, like like a little appetizer. And they are exquisite. They're amazing. But so that whole farm produces 5 kilos a week, and so we could only have them on for. I said I'll start stockpiling them, a few months before or 3 months before, and we ended up going through 25 kilo a week. So that's a lot of duck tongues. It's kind of, but that's sort of, that style of food that, again, I want people to understand and to eat everything. It's like talking about a fish, eating a whole fish, and only taking what you need. And when you eat a whole fish, gee whiz, there's bones in there, and that means you slow down, so that means we take more time. And all those sorts of things are really, really important to me. It's also about eating all the other fish, not just the blue cod or the snapper or the groper. I love those fish, and I'm not poo-pooing that. It's just that all the other fish are wonderful if you understand how to cook them as well, or what the great, the different techniques that you use to get the best out of them. And I feel for me as a chef or as a cook these days, it's more about trying to share the love in that area and put that out there. And on vegetables, it's the same. It's like I look at a swede, and that is as beautiful and as tasty as an asparagus. And it's just about getting the best out of those. And one's not better than the other. Some people would argue, but I think if you understand and cook them, I did a dish on Saturday night at an event, and it was on grated swede, just cooked with sage and butter, with some beautiful venison, and it was extraordinary. So that's what we sort of do at Depot. It's all about secondary cuts. It's fast and furious. We serve wine in tumblers out of the tap, so we just pour it. But it's amazing, Central Otago Pinot Noir we have Spy Valley Sauvignon Blanc. We have Duncan Forsyth from Mount Edward. We have his Pinot Noir on, and this was something that I've learnt about or read about in the States, that there was some places doing that, and I'm always into pushing the limits a little bit, and lots of people thought we were crazy, but it's eliminating the bottle, and in case you didn't know, every bottle that you drink, it came out of a tap. So all we're doing is doing that, and Duncan was so behind it, said, oh well, screw them, let's do our reserve out of the tap. And so we've done that, and served it crafts and serve it in tumblers, and people were going, we'll never come to a restaurant if you serve your wine in a tumbler. And they're the same people that I sit on when I'm flying at 7 o'clock at night drinking it out of a plastic cup leaving New Zealand. So I'm going, well, at least you're serving it in a glass. But it's, it was funny, but again, it suits our personality, that informality. That's the batch. You're not going to not drink, and if there's only an AG jar, a small jar or something left, by God, you'll pour it in there and drink it out there as well. So I think it's, and we serve stems, and if you order, you can have what you like. But most people drink it out of certain people drink out of stems. Most people drink it out of a tumbler, and I guess that's what I sort of what I do at home. So that's what I'm putting out there and breaking down that formality, and that's sort of what Depot has been about, and it goes extremely well. So I'm sure you will love it if you get out there sometime. But what else? I've got. I'm doing two new outlets in Auckland, and I have to tell you that Wellington is not long going to be my home city. I am moving to Auckland, but have sort of resisted it for a while. But I guess I'm away a lot, and the penny sort of dropped 2 months ago when I checked into the Sky City Grand, and the woman behind me said, oh, Al, next time it'll be your 50th night in the year. And that's not so good for the family and for my girls. And so we're moving up there, and all my publishing is up there, and we're opening a couple of new places, one right next to Depot, but in the same style. I only ever do one of something. I'll never franchise or open another depot somewhere or anything like that. I think, I just love the individuality of places, and I think you devalue the brand a little bit if you open them and then everyone's sort of comparing one from the other. And so we're doing some, I guess I'm going to talk about sort of my take on, and it hasn't been done in New Zealand, but my take on Jewish soul food, sort of like a 1920s New York deli. So a lot on pastrami and pickle and lox and all that sort of thing. It won't be totally kosher, and we'll still do shellfish and bits and pieces, but still in that, and it's, sort of big, lots of drama and sort of theatre, and you'll set up, a big long bar, but it'll be a cooking, it'll be essentially a kitchen. And we're doing another thing I'm doing is when I travelled, I first went to Montreal. My mother's sister lived there, and they're the only family that I had in the world, and so I spent sort of 2 or 3 winters in Montreal, and they have a big Jewish community there, and they do a Montreal bagel, which is very different to a New York bagel. It's hand rolled, and it's wood fired, so it's cooked in a big wood fired oven. It's boiled, it's simmered in honey water, and I was cooking up at Frankfurt for the fair, the book fair, 3 weeks ago, and then I went and had had a week working in one of these places, just as the doughboy really, right from the young guy in there for a week, and I guess that's what I'm always about. I still love learning. I still love trying to understand new things. So we're going to do the first sort of wood-fired bagel in New Zealand, and that sort of fits with the brand, I guess, and I'm sending a guy up to learn spend a month up there, and I learned quite a lot in a week, but there's so much to learn, and I'm bringing 2 stonemasons from Montreal out to New Zealand to build the oven, so look for that as well. So that's sort of happening. I start filming a new TV show in the 1st of December in Australia, so that's sort of looking at the different states, and sort of starting with the chefs and talking to the chefs and understanding the products, and then going out and discovering them and cooking them. So we've got tons on. It's really exciting, and that's about it from me. But thank you very, very much for coming along and having a listen. And if there's any questions, I'm more than happy. I'm going to have a sip of my wine because I've got a bit canny in my mouth. No, they're made just with well, I'm playing around with 2 different flours, but certainly unbleached flour is the way I'm going to be going as well. But I think you can do them with a low gluten flour for sure. Yes.
And honey water, is that appropriate?
Yeah, honey water. So they add honey to the water, and so the bagel is it's not like the New York bagel to me is a roll with a hole in the middle, and there's not much. It's a little bit doughy and big. The New York bagel is smaller, a little bit more chewy, sweet outside, and 90% or 95% of them are dipped completely in sesame seeds, and then they're cooked. It's just amazing. And working on the ovens, they're like 9 foot deep, and so you're turning, with paddles, and it's real theatre. And at any one time you have about 120 bagels in there at different stages, and you're turning some, you're bringing some out, you're dipping and putting on boards and putting them in, and it's really, the product itself eats like a dream, but it's extraordinary to watch. So it'll be an open, it'll be an open bagel shop which will sell, we hope to sell wholesale, and then you can drop in and buy at retail and maybe get an espresso there. It's not going to be like a bagel restaurant, it's more a factory, but an outlet that you drop in, you can certainly stand and watch. And that's how I got involved in it. I just became fascinated by watching the process. And again, it's that celebrating that artisan. It's hand rolled, and it's wood fire, and it's with honey, and there's a whole lot of good things there, and it's it's a real product. I really love it. At the back.
Plans to bring down some of your bagels down south?
Shit, yeah. But you're going to order them for sure. No, they travel pretty well, you know, and you know, they certainly bag them up and sell them over there in supermarkets. The place that I worked at, we were doing 450 to 500 dozen a day. They have 6 shops. They do 3,000 dozen a day in Montreal, and that was only one. You know, so they're a big part of the. You know, and it'll be an education, but I'm pretty sure it's one of those things that you eat once and you know you become pretty hooked on it. Google it. Google Montreal bagel and have a look. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Yes.
I applaud your good taste in bagels. Montreal bagels are the best.
Oh, thank you. Are you Canadian?
No, I'm American, but I spent a lot of time in Montreal.
Oh, great.
Did you get a chance to try a sweet bagel?
Yeah, like a cinnamon and raisin.
No. It's a bagel that they put. It's almost like a mascarpone cheese in.
Oh, really?
It's next time you go out, I'll tell you where the shop is later.
Thank you. It's so funny because I talk about bagels and I see people's eyes sort of, you know, roll back in their head going, yeah, good one. Everyone's doing those. But a Montreal bagel is something you've got to try. It's completely different to a New York bagel. So, or that, you know, there's really 2 bagels in the world and those are them. I think it all started with Polish bagels actually. Yes.
Have you still got your car?
Yeah, I've still got the holder. Yeah. It's just cost me an absolute fortune. You know, because we never, you know, I'm not precious about things. You know, we drove it up the beach, into the sand, up the mud, and up the, you know, eventually it sort of started getting a bit tired. And I gave it to a panel beater friend, and you know, I put 5K in his account, and so you know, you just work away a bit, and I'll take it when it's ready. And you know, a year and a half, $22,000. But it's you know, but it's a special car, you know, and it's taken. It's funny actually. It's funny because we had. It's funny because we had that, and we had a very old Toyota Camry that was pretty beat up, and Connie, my youngest, she must have been about 4 or 3, and I don't know. I promised Alice, who's a year and a half older, or she's 13, and and Connie's 11, and I said, you know, I'm going to keep it, you know, I'm going to give it to you for your 21st, Alice, and Connie sort of looked up, and I said, and darling, the Camry's going to be yours, and didn't think much about it, and anyway, 2 or 3 years later, eventually got rid of the Camry, and Connie came home and said, where's the Camry? And I hadn't thought about it, and she was completely distraught. You know, because they don't, you know, well, that one's Alice's and this one's mine, so they don't sort of understand the specialness of it. But it's a great car, and I love, you know, I'm not big on flash cars or anything like that, but I like that piece of history, and I love to drive it. I love the old car, and when it's like that, it sort of takes me back. You know, we had EH station wagon growing up, and there's sort of a whole lot of memories associated to it. It's a piece of New Zealand, and we surely did some great things in there, and some fun for sure. Yes, mate.
How did you get on getting past the council hall and having a wood-fired oven in the central city?
Now that we've got some fairly serious extraction. Anything that's solid fuel, there's quite a bit of cost that comes with the extraction with it. But we didn't have too much problems with that at all. Actually, I don't know. I mean, do you have that down here? That it's quite it's a big issue.
We had the council. That's the problem.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we haven't had too much, and we don't anticipate that either with the bagel either. So. Yeah, mate.
Is there any food that you don't like to eat yourself?
Does it look like it? No, pretty much my mouth's open, taking things in on the regular every few minutes. But no, I don't like raw celery for some reason. I can't stand raw celery. But no, I pretty much eat everything. I really, you know, and I love it's the thing about food to me is to eat decent food and to eat seasonally. Of course, it's not things that that it's too far out. It's really important to me for I think more than anything else is for our kids to be connected to the food that we eat, and that's where farmers markets come in and growing vegetables or collecting shellfish at low tide. I mean, the bays around here. I mean, one of my dishes, if I lived here, I'd be eating clams. Yeah, I'd be eating little neck clams at least once a week. I think they're extraordinary. But if your kids become part of the harvest, or they sow, or they pull carrots and do that sort of thing, they'll eat them. It's as simple as that. If you just put them in front of them and they don't have no connection with it, that's the sad thing. There's no excuse for this country not to, for our children to understand where food comes from and to be eating good food. And there's far too much Coke and chips out there, and I mean, a bit of moderation on that, but whole foods is where we should be and what we should be doing. I think it's, again, that's a responsibility of mine, and what I do to continually talk about that and get kids eating good stuff.
I've got a question.
Yeah.
You've had a huge day. You've been up in Oamaru and now you're here. If you could go home tonight, what would you eat?
Probably mince. I mean, I don't, obviously I cook really, but someone asked me today in an interview, what's your favourite dish? And I eat corned beef every Sunday night. It's a tradition at home, corned beef with cabbage and mashed potato and the cheesy mustard sauce. I mean, we eat the same, very, very similar. I grow lots of vegetables, so we'll do that, but, normally we eat something white, something brown and something green on the plate. And we mix that up a little bit, and we are all sort of creatures of habit, and I love chops. I simply adore chops and anything like that, and cook simply. I don't, when you're a chef or a cook, you, as people attest to in the kitchen, you're around that food the whole time, and it actually, you never feel hungry when you're actually in the kitchen. As soon as you get out and get home, the hunger comes back pretty quickly. But in the kitchen, all that rich food, it's just not something that you're drawn to very often. But eating it in another restaurant or having something, it's like someone making a sandwich for you always tastes better than the sandwich you make yourself. So Lizzie's she's a pretty good cook. So and we eat pretty well. So that's good.
So since you're not going home, you're here, where will you eat here?
Well, my favourite restaurant in Dunedin, without question, is Plato. Yeah. I just love its simplicity. We went there twice when we were filming, 2 nights in a row, and I still, and here you go, I can still remember what I had. I had bacon and kidneys, lamb's kidneys, and I had flounder with capers and parsley and butter sauce over it. And went back the next night and exactly the same thing. Creatures of habit. But, I know that there's a pretty good food scene down here, and there's probably a lot of good places, but I think we tend to sort of go to places that we know, and there's some sort of connection there as well. So.